Hi everyone, this is the Chungler with Chapter 12 Eirika route of my FE8 efficiency playthrough. I wanted to commentate this chapter because it's kind of an involved route map. It involves us sending 4 groups of units to different parts of the map to route different enemies. The first group is going to be the bottom group, and that's going to be where most of our units are. It doesn't look super full right now, but after we cross a reinforcement trigger zone on turn 1, there will be a lot of extra enemies spawning. 3 moth dogs and 7 gargoyles that come on us pretty fast. So this group actually gets kind of hectic. The second group is Vanessa and Seth. Vanessa is gonna pick up Seth and get danced on turn 1 so that she can drop Seth into the middle of the map essentially. Seth is going to equip an Iron Lance to one-shot the moth dogs, the 2 moth dogs that attack him on turn 1. He could use something like the Steel Lance or the Silver Sword if he doesn't have as much strength as my Seth does, who is fairly strength blessed. So you can do the same thing, just with slightly worse hit rates. If one of the moth dogs doesn't die to Seth, it's not the end of the world. You can still technically 5-turn the chapter. It just becomes a little bit dicier in terms of chance of death, in that Seth's chance of death goes from 0 to maybe a single digit death chance. And the third group is going to be Tana carrying Garrick, who is going to be dropped over the mountain on turn 2 so that he can deal with the boss group. And Vanessa and Seth are eventually going to split off into their own group. So it's going to be Vanessa in the top left, Garrick in the top middle dealing with the boss, and Seth in the top right, while the bottom group deals with all of those enemies. So those are our groups. On turn 1, enemy phase, we have Ford carrying Dozla. This is partially so that he can drop Dozla onto a mountain on turn 2 so that he can eventually reach a spider in that bottom right corner, but it's also so that Ford gets doubled and Saleh can use Mend on him. Now, Saleh is a unit that joined us this chapter who's really good, but he needs some staff rank grinding to reach A staves by chapter 16. And to do that, we're going to try and get as many mends in as possible because it gives a good amount of weapon EXP, and it's a very accessible stave. Vanessa on turn 2 here is going to get the barrier village and is going to send it to the convoy so that Saleh can actually grab it from the supply and start using it along with Mend to keep building his staff rank. So he's going to be able to mend Ford because Ford was got doubled on turn 1 and took some damage, and he's going to be able to barrier Tethys after she dances him. Another thing is for these next few maps, Saleh and Tethys are basically going to be stapled together so that Saleh can get enough staff rank for what he needs to do in chapter 16 and for the rest of the game basically, because he's going to be our main warper. Now you probably noticed the enemies that spawned on the end of turn 1 enemy phase. That was the reinforcements I was talking about in the bottom part of the map. Saleh is going to block off the rest of our units from the moth dogs, who are able to double and kill units like Tethys and Eirika, do a lot of damage to Ford. And Saleh is actually going to be really good against these moth dogs because most of the time he's going to be able to one-shot them with L-Fire, which is really good. Even if he doesn't one-shot them with L-Fire, that's okay. He basically, out of the 3 moth dogs there, he needs to be able to one-shot one of them so that we can kill them in time so they don't start mogging the rest of our units. Dozla is going to start his peak adventure by enemy phasing a spider. He doesn't have to hit the spider, but if he does, it means we have to hit fewer attacks on turn 3, which is pretty nice. So that's just kind of incidental. He's still working his way towards that spider on the bottom there anyway. Here's Saleh's enemy phase against those moth dogs. He actually one-shots all of them, though we're going to pretend that he still left some of them alive. Kyle is also blocking off 2 moth dogs that started on the map. He's really good against them too. He takes 0 damage, like basically 0 damage, even though he gets doubled. And with the Slim Sword, he actually has okay hit rates. He's using the Lance Reaver right now, so that he can help deal with the gargoyle that wasn't in range of Seth on turn 1. But yeah, Kyle's really good against them too. He's going to be blocking them off on the right side from killing our units, basically. Seth has 2 more Moth Dogs he one-shots here, though these ones are not nearly as important as the first turn ones to one-shot. He basically just has to be able to kill 1 Moth Dog on enemy phase here to get where he needs to go. Vanessa is dealing with some eyeballs before she deals with 2 peak spiders on the top left corner of the map. That's mainly why Vanessa has to go there so quickly, because these spiders are really dodgy because they get 40 avoid from peaks. So there's really nobody except Vanessa who can kill them in the time that we need them to die. On the bottom side group, we have Dozla and Innis killing 2 of the gargoyle reinforcements. Ideally, we need 1 of them dead for sure. So if Dozla ends up missing his hand axes on the first gargoyle, Innis can finish. But if there's 2 of them left alive, we need to move Ford away because he will get 2-shot by them. And here's what I was talking about with that spider. Since Dozla hit, Sally was able to go for 1 L-fire instead of 2 fires, which is a little bit more reliable. We also technically have Arthur backing up Sally, but ideally Arthur gets to use a staff use here, amend on Sally, both for Sally's survival, even though usually he's okay on this turn regardless, and also for Arthur's staff rank, because he needs to reach rescue rank at a certain point in the playthrough. And Sally will once again block off Tethys from being attacked by dogs. Sally can't get in range of that spider because then he'll have a chance of death against the spider plus the gargoyles. And again, Sally killed all of the Moth Dogs, but assuming he didn't, he would just equip fire here and finish the rest of them off. Or leaving 1 alive is okay. Because Tana killed that eyeball that attacked her on turn 2 enemy phase, she recruits Ewan on this turn. Doesn't really need to do this, but it can get Ewan started on chipping that Bone Walker near his village. That Bone Walker has a killing edge, but doesn't actually move, so Ewan is pretty useful here, so that Tana doesn't have to take an attack at 1 range from him, basically. Vanessa is just going to elixir. Whatever happened with the eyeballs doesn't really matter. Just want her to get healed up for the next enemy phase after this one. So here's what Vanessa's hit rates are looking like on these spiders. She doesn't have S-rank lances yet, but after her first 2 combats in enemy phase here, she will get S-rank lances, which is really nice. She needs to hit 3 out of 4 silver lances on these spiders. She doesn't technically need to, I guess, but if she doesn't, then she has a little bit higher chance of death on ensuing turns, and she would have to hit them with like javelins later. And you'll see why in a little bit. But yeah, 3 out of 4 silver lances isn't too bad. And even then, she doesn't really need to hit 3 out of 4. She can always attack on player phase here if she doesn't get hit. And do other stuff like that to improve her odds here. Now, we're going to break the Silver Lance on this enemy phase. We're going to heal up Vanessa here. I basically always heal up Vanessa, honestly, because even at HP she's at now with both robes, she does technically have a chance of death. I calculated it to the best of my abilities, and it was like 1%. So I think that it's worth going for, but you could technically move her out of range of the gargoyle reinforcements. Also, by the way, those gargoyles just spawned because we passed another reinforcement trigger zone, because Vanessa and Seth went farther up the map. So that's why those spawned right there. But yeah, we're going to break the Silver Lance this enemy phase on the spiders or the gargoyles, and that'll let Vanessa equip a javelin on enemy phase for the gargoyles that attack it too. There's Dozla getting started battling that spider. He has a 36% chance of not doubling, so 64% chance of doubling. Unfortunately, on this clear, the spider rolled up too much speed, so Dozla was not able to double him. which makes the odds that he kills him in the time needed for a 5 turn a lot less likely. To put it in perspective, Dozla has almost a 90% chance of killing the spider if he doubles with a hatchet, whereas if he doesn't double with the hatchet, he has more like a 40% chance of killing the spider. So definitely a big difference there. But we'll still be okay with the 6th turn regardless, so even if he doesn't kill the spider, it's not the end of the world. The 6th turn is I'm still pretty happy with on this map. Seth is dealing with this top right portion. The enemies could technically kill him if he attacked on player phase, so we just had him equip an iron lance on player phase so that there's no death chance there. Sally deals with some of the revenants and uses some stabs on player phase, which is nice, getting him some more staff EXP. Garrick attacked that spider with an iron blade. This is to get him as much weapon EXP towards S swords as possible, because we would really like Garrick to hit S swords to deal with a certain boss later in the playthrough. And we see that he reaches B right there, which is pretty nice. Vanessa does end up taking out both spiders. If she didn't, it would be okay. She would just have to kill them later with slightly less accurate weapons, but at this point they're probably very low. And Vanessa actually gets a lot of crits on these gargoyles here. She doesn't need to do this. She just needs to dodge 1 out of 2, or 1 out of 5 gargoyles. And, like, just the sharp talon spider, basically, to survive here. Which has very high odds of happening. These gargoyles pull pretty terrible hit on Vanessa, as you can see, and they don't even do that much damage, so. And this bottom group is kind of actually finishing things up here. We've been avoiding that spider like a plague because he hits really hard, and we don't want... none of our units can really survive taking an enemy phase from a spider plus the other gargoyles there, except for Dozla, who's kind of busy. Garrick is doing the boss kill right now. He technically has a small chance of death. He has to dodge 1 out of 2 29 displayed hits, or the 55 Steel Lance displayed hit. So very good odds of survival. You could improve his odds by giving him a killing edge and elixiring him here, and just seeing if he crits the boss. If he doesn't, it's okay, because you just take a 6 turn. But I wanted to get Garrick some more weapon EXP. I'm a little bit concerned about that boss I have to deal with later, so I was okay with taking the very small death chance there. And Vanessa, again, is just going to heal with an elixir, because she probably got, maybe not necessarily low, but she could have potentially gotten low, at least. And Dozla has to keep backing up against this spider and attacking at 2 range, because if Dozla doesn't kill, we want to be able to guarantee a kill on turn 6. So that's why he's not attacking with anything from 1 range or anything like that. But the hatchet's really accurate, so that's not a huge concern. And Innis is getting some player phase kills on these gargoyles. Sally is going to kill 1. And that's going to clear all except for 1 of them, which Sally can take a hit from on enemy phase. And then Tethys is going to dance Sally so that he can get, again, an extra staff use in there. Thankfully, because Kyle got hit, Sally can use Men, which is nice. Again, want to use that whenever possible. And I was just checking the gargoyle stats here to make sure that if he attacked Kyle, he would die. But he's pretty much always going to attack Sally just because he's at pretty low HP. And Ford and Eirika don't really have anything to do. Ewan and Tana finished off that Bone Walker a little bit early, so they're kind of doing nothing. Dozla, unfortunately, doesn't kill this spider, so we will have to take a 6 turn, but that's okay. It'll give us a little more staff EXP on Sally. I don't think that the staff EXP will matter, because in a 5-turn clear, I was still able to get the same amount of staff uses as Jelly Unicorn, her 0% gross LTC playthrough, and I will probably end up taking more turns in some maps coming up here, so not really a big deal, I guess, the staff uses, but it's nice to have a buffer at least. And there's Garrick picking up the boss kill and a bunch of Iron Blade EXP. He got 10 Iron Blade EXP just from that boss, which is kind of wild because of the double weapon EXP property of the Iron Blade. And so, because Dozla didn't kill the spider, we're just going to have him leave the peak, and the spider will attack from a plane tile on enemy phase here, so we can just have Sale pick up the kill, get a little bit of extra L-Fire rank. Unfortunately, there's nobody who took any other hits, so Sale is just going to have to use 2 barriers here. But again, these staff uses probably aren't the most important ones anyway, but nice to have a buffer. And I was just making sure I didn't fuck this up. Sally will get in range, use a barrier. And there we go, Sally got a level up. I've been routing this playthrough as if he doesn't get any magic procs, so it doesn't really matter in terms of his warp range, but I guess we'll take any level ups we can get. And Sally is going to finish that off, and that is Chapter 12 Eirika route completed in 6 turns. Thanks, and I will see you next time.